I wanted to go through the process. Maybe, a lot of people are wondering what does it take to become a client at SimplyPHP, right? I know you're out there thinking, how can I become a client of SimplyPHP? So, kind of first step, normally a prospective client will reach out to us through, let's see, we got, people Google us. They Google PHP development company. I think we still come out number one. So we're basically number one position on the first page. 12 years in business, that's one of the perks. So that'll lead. So they come through us to Google. They come through us through our social media channels, content like this, right? They end up speaking to me. I'm the sole sales guy at SimplyPHP.
Yep.
All these years, I keep explaining the same. Well, actually, no. We change our model around pretty much. Though we keep on changing it according to how things are going. Little business model tweaks, but fundamentally it's the same thing. So when they end up speaking with me, I talk about, what our plus value is, what our hourly rate is, how we work, where our people are located. Then what happens?
Well, depending of their needs. So there's usually two ways of how it's going to happen. So if we're going more like building a project from scratch, they will still, they will always be redirected to me regardless of what their needs are.
Yeah.
But then after, from this call that I will be part of, as well as the developers or a sysadmin, if we do need to bring them on board, we'll usually meet with this client and kind of just discuss what their needs are. And that's where we'll identify whether they're more looking for a staff aug, or if they want to build a project from scratch.
Okay, so let's concentrate on staff augmentation for now. So if someone is looking to staff up, let's say one or two resources, what's the process for them specifically? Do they get to speak to their possible resources? Like, how does that work?
Absolutely. So usually depending of, what their application is, because usually people that comes to us that have a need for developers for staff augmentation already have an application in place. So what we'll do, we'll kind of just evaluate what the technologies are, and based on those technologies, we will present those potential candidates, and the potential client can then pass those developers during interviews to see whether they would be a good fit or not.
Yeah, I think that's important to mention too, is, because currently we have about, 53 resources in the company. Everyone's our full-time developers. But the prospects or the potential client's need does not always match the actual resources that we have available. Because that's the thing, right?
That's right.
You may have a need that we have a resource that fits that need perfectly, but they may be allocated to another project, and obviously we're not going to rip them off the project. We would never do that to our clients. So that's a good part of it. That's where the interview process comes into play. So do you forward so let's say we have two people that are available, or two people that are available right now, and another one or two people that may be available in a couple weeks. Do you send the CVs to the prospect first, and then you meet up? And do they do a triage? Or do they say, okay, I'd like to speak to this person and not that person? How does that work?
Yeah, usually we'll send over some CVs, and then they will decide who they want to meet first and who they think would be the best fit as well. And then sometimes some people are just like, I want to meet everyone. And
Oh,
kind of
really?
just,
That
yeah.
happens? I want to
Yeah.
meet everyone? Okay.
Yeah. I want to meet everyone, and then we'll make the decision based on the conversations that we have with those developers.
What are they looking for when they're having this interview process? Are they looking for communication? Like, what is it? What is it, do you think?
I think it's a lot of a cultural fit as well as, technology, tech fit as well, just to make sure that they have a good understanding of what they're trying to accomplish and the experience that the developers has with that technology. But a lot of it as well kind of goes with cultural fit and with communications as well, because they will bring those new people from SimplyPHP to work with their team most of the time. So they want to make sure that there's a good fit there. But mostly, they're looking for a tech fit too, as well, of course. So it's kind of like, it's not only the tech fit, from my experience.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. So it could be a technology that they're looking for, but once that box is checked, then it's also communication and personality.
Yeah.
Do prospective clients ever ask non-technical questions during these interviews?
Yes. And I
Yes?
love that, because even for myself, because I'm part of these interviews most of the time.
Oh, you sit in on the interview,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
that's cool.
Because it's usually early on in the relationship, so I get to know the client, but then also
Yeah.
they pass our devs in an interview, and I usually participate to those calls. And I get to learn on our devs too, because they will ask some very cool questions, like, what's your passion? What's your hobby besides, technology? And they really they're interested to get to know our people too. It's kind of like the same way as they treat our interview process, pretty much the same way as they would manage their interview process internally as well.
Oh, internally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I like that we actually make the potential resources available.
Yeah.
Because, some other companies don't, right? They're like, yeah, we're going to assign you whomever. But I think it makes complete sense to allow people to speak to their potential resources, right? Because they're going to be an extension of their team, just to find if they're a good fit.
That's exactly right.
I've sat in on a few, and I like some organizations really have it down good, and I like they ask you normally the same questions, which is really cool. So I guess they discuss that. For example, what is the most challenging project you've ever been on, and why was it challenging? What type of work do you like to do? Do you prefer to do?
Yeah.
Can you think of any that stand out to you without mentioning company names? Like, I remember there was one company that did it so well that I asked them if I could send a recording of the meeting to you.
Yeah.
And said, hey, we should interview like this.
Yeah, we took a leaf out of their books, and we definitely applied that to our interview process today. And what I really like also is it's very hard to gauge how, I could be wrong, but from experience and from the interview that I sat on, and without having the developer doing a test, some people are very good talker, so they can say they know everything, but when they come to do it, well, they're unable to deliver. But what I liked about one company in particular is that they ask very simple PHP questions.
Okay.
Which is common sense when you do PHP. And that way they were able to find out, if that person had a good basic understanding of PHP as a programming language. And I really like that, because,
Yeah, and just to address what you said about some people being able to talk, others not. Yeah, I've seen that often where, you know, a person comes into an interview and there's 5 or 6 people on Zoom, right? And I see right away, and that's why I try not to be personally in on the meetings too, because and I prefer you to be there because, and then you add me to the mix. That's like I can see right away they start feeling uncomfortable, and it's
Yeah.
it's good. So let's say for example that prospective client interviews 2 or 3 people, and they say, okay, we want Johnny. What happens? What happens after that? I guess you work on start dates, getting them access to certain platforms. Is
Yeah,
that
usually it's extremely straightforward. It's so simple, and I think that's
okay?
why it's very attracting to clients to come work with us because
Hmm.
there's, it's very, very simple to get started. We need to provide the developers a Git repository username over to them and
Yeah.
establish a start date, and that's it.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
we can then, after that, we can iron out the details. Do we have to, usually we connect our Slack channels together as well. If necessary, we set the developers to their stand-ups and other meetings that they need to attend.
Hmm.
And then in terms of logistics, that's as far as it goes. It's extremely simple.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, maybe a decade ago, it was much more complicated to work with a company like us. Now it's become everyone's pretty much standardized. Everyone's using Jira.
Yeah, everyone's
Everyone's
on the
using
cloud,
Slack.
so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some real because it has to be easy because we want to take as less amount of time as possible from the company owners or the CTOs and the COOs and just let them do what they do. So that's great. Do you so we have a new client. We have a resource assigned to that client. Do you check in with that client on a regular basis? Do you feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna check in when I have to? Do you feel like you're taking that CTO's time every week? Like how does it feel for you? Like how does it work?
So it really does depend from a company to another.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that the bigger the company is, the less time that they have, which is normal. And I mean, the thing is, even with smaller company, everyone is super busy. So it really depends. Like at the beginning, I always tell them like, what do we do for communication? Do you want to meet with me every week? Do you want to meet with me every month? Do you want to communicate with me only via email? And they kind of just decide what they want to do. I do check in once in a while to kind of just make sure that everything is, working properly, and
Mm-hmm.
that they're happy with the developers that they're working on. But to be honest, when it's with a staff log, they know that they can reach out to me if there's anything. But yeah, as I said, I drop in sometime with an email if that person decided not to speak with me monthly or weekly. Yeah, I kind of just gonna drop an email from time to time, but most of the time they don't get back to me.
They don't. I know. I
Until there's
know.
actually something that
Yeah.
happens, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the reason why we speak to our people once a week. That works for that staff log.
Yeah.
To that developer from SimplyPHP, just to make sure that everything is going right, so it's not a surprise should anything wrong happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just made me think of there was someone that was in your role like many, many years ago. And what they did is they had a weekly stand up with let's say the CTO,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a weekly calendar invite. And it was a Zoom. Yeah, because we've been using Zoom or Google Meet.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that was in your role, our employee, would go to that Zoom meeting every week and just wait. If the client showed up, he or she showed up. But if the client didn't show up, he would literally be in that meeting for half an hour, be in the background. It was so weird.
I know I participated to these calls.
You did?
I
Oh,
was
so
waiting around and I was like, what are we doing here?
it's so bizarre.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I know that everyone is super busy. So, but
Yeah.
I feel like,
Well, a little confirmation, like,
Yeah.
you want to meet this week?
Yeah.
That's normal,
and
right?
although, everyone is busy and that there's no problem, I just want to make sure that you know that I'm here should anything happen. So,
Yeah. It's totally part of
Yeah.
our plus value.
Or
We
like-
don't just assign someone.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, if there's an invoice question or if there's time off that's coming up and we need to, rotate a new developer while this person is going away or anything like that, I'm here for that most of the time. But we don't manage projects and on a staff log,
Yeah. Of course. Oh, so that's great. So that's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
How's the start date timeline? Like, most of the time, is it someone that says, we only need to start next month, or is it we need to start as soon as possible? We need to start like tomorrow. Like, how do you feel about that? What's the majority?
Usually we need to start yesterday. So
Really, eh?
Yeah,
Wow.
they I believe that our clients, once they've decided that they want to work with us, they're usually ready to get started, and
Okay.
a lot of them reach out to us to boost their velocity and really kind of
Yeah.
just increase the output. So yeah, they're usually pretty much ready to start. Sometimes it's going to take a few days depending of the size of the company, because sometimes they have to go through other departments and they have to clear IPs and things like that. So
Yeah. Understood.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I found too over the years, that it was normally, most of the time, it was an immediate start.
Yeah, it's either immediate. It can take a couple of days just so the team lead can kind of just prepare themselves for this developer to be ready and kind of just prepare work for them and all of that. But it's usually pretty quick.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
people decide they need
Yeah.
extra people, like, okay,
Yeah.
they have a meeting, and then right away they start looking
And
for.
if they like Johnny, we have a waiting list, so they know that
Yeah.
they need to act fast.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
we cannot wait for too long because, they like Johnny, but I'm sure that Johnny will fit really well on other projects as well. So,
Yeah.
there's.
How long would you hold Johnny?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would usually ask you, Tony. So
Yeah.
what do we do here? But because
Yeah.
that's the thing, when we go through the entire interview process and all of that, we don't want to lose anyone's time. But when
Yeah.
we know that you're interested and ready to go, the sooner we can start, the better.
Yeah, I think if someone like Johnny, for example, favorite name, is available, a few days, a week max.
Yeah.
A week maximum, we could say, okay, Johnny's allocated to you. We understand you only want to start in a week. That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get Johnny on some giving back stuff potentially, or some learning. Free ramp up sometimes. I've done that before, where they say, okay, we want this person, but we only want to start in a week. Okay, well, what can they do free of charge? Because if we have nothing else for them, then
Yeah.
why would we not say that, right?
Yeah.
What can they do for the next 4 or 5 days free of charge to prepare for your project? And there's always something.
Yeah.
Read up on documentation.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's also something that's super interesting with, our model, is with staff augmentation, and we're based on transparency. Everything that we do, everything that we know, they know, and we expect the same from our clients as well. But if, you have hired Johnny and Johnny doesn't work out for X reason, we can I can sit down with the CTO and kind of just put the problems, discuss the problems and see if we can find a solution to keep Johnny on the projects, because we know that ramping up the project, the knowledge of a developer is, it's costly. It takes sometimes
Yeah.
a little bit of time. So we never really want to replace unless, there are no other solutions. But there's a way for us also to find an agreement and rotate someone new in as well.
Yeah, I think we just did that very recently, right? There was someone that was on a project for, I don't know, 2-3 months.
Yep.
And then it just wasn't working out.
Yep.
So we rotated him out. Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of rare, though.
It doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't happen
But,
often.
we're here for our clients. So,
Yeah.
But we're going to hear you out. And if we think that it's fair, we're going to
Yeah.
accommodate your needs for sure.
Yeah, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Probably works both ways too, So yeah, that's great. That's a great advantage of because if you hire someone full time as an employee internally, it's like, oof, you don't. Often they leave another job to come to your company. It's difficult to let someone go, as opposed to calling V and say, V, you know what? I don't think that person's working out. Can we talk to someone else? That's so easy because they know that that person's life is not impacted. We have other projects for that person.
Yeah.
So that's great.